If you ever bet on the total points in AFL games, this video is really going to help you because we're going to look at every team's over-under record for the past 5 seasons and also look into the overall AFL records for the past 5 seasons, because viewing this information and keeping this in mind when you're betting is how you can make smart betting decisions, which is what's going to result in you making money long term. So for the past 5 seasons, the over has a winning record in the AFL. The past 3 seasons, over has had a winning record as well when you add up every single game. Also, when we look a little bit deeper into the numbers, day games have a record going over the total and night games have a record going under the total. But it hasn't mattered, whether teams are home or away or the margin of the underdog. Games have been going over in the AFL on an overall basis. But when we look into it a little bit deeper, you'll notice that, yes, there's a few teams like Adelaide and Brisbane at 58%, but majority of these teams are fairly close to that 50% mark. Not as much as compared to if you're betting the handicaps and the lines, but still fairly even. So what I like to do is look deeper into the situational factors. So whether teams are home, away, favorite, underdog, what the total is for that game, whether it's a day or night match, all those different factors. So then we can see, okay, are there situations where it really stands out? Because when you're betting on total points markets, generally the line is $1.90. Sometimes you can get $1.91. Some of the smaller betting companies only offer $1.87 on total markets, which is really not that great. But assuming you're betting $1.90, you need to be winning 53% of your bets in order to be profitable, assuming you're level staking. So that means for every 100, you need to win 53 or more. So if we can find situations where there's a big discrepancy from that 53%, where the teams are covering at a much higher rate than that, or they're going under the total at a much higher rate than 53%, then those are good situations, especially when we can factor that in with the historical data, what the odds they set for the game last time, how teams are performing, and pairing it up with the statistics. But right now, we'll just look at the over-under trends for the past 5 seasons. So this is a video where you really want to keep track of this information. I do track this all throughout the season for individual seasons, so you can see how teams are progressing as well. So make sure you look on investor.bet.com.au in the InvestorBet Sports membership, where all this information is kept, not just for the AFL, but stack of other sports as well, because it's the information that helps you actually make good bets, make smart betting decisions, and ultimately make money every season. So the best over teams for the past 5 seasons have been Adelaide, the Adelaide Crows, Brisbane Lions, and the West Coast Eagles. All three of those teams are going at 58% to the over. And the best under team is the Fremantle Dockers with 40% or 60% effectively games going under the total. So they're your biggest underside. Now, what's more important, as I said, than just the overall is the different situations. So when I'm analyzing situations for the past 5 seasons, I'm looking at situations where there's been at least 20 games. So don't really care that much if, teams are 5-0 to the over and they've only had 5 games during that time. But, when there's been 30 games and there's 75% of games going over and situations like that, that's when I'm getting really interested into what's going on there. So to fit the criteria for which we have 6 games that are hitting at 66% or higher to the over, there needs to be at least 20 games. The most is the Sydney Swans as an away favorite. That's going at 76% through 21 games, with 16 of them going over the total. Another one hitting at above 70% is Collingwood during rounds 17 to 24. So all the way down the bottom here, 30 games, 21 of them went over the total. Richmond in day matches down here, 68%, 32 of 47 have gone over. So these are all hitting at really high percentages and are extremely profitable. GWS Giants at home are going over 67% of the time. 54 matches during that period, 36 went over. So that's a really high percentage and a good sample size. The betting companies, you just want to monitor in these really big ones with a lot of games. And also you can see their away games, we're going to get to in a second, are going under. You just got to be cautious if their home line really starts to be jacked up. So that's one thing to pay attention to this season. North Melbourne, when the total is at 170 or more, 66% of games are going over 23 of 35. And the last one, Western Bulldogs, during this mid-season patch as well, 35 games, 23 have gone over. An honorable mention as well is the Giants as a home underdog. So once again, those home games, they only had 18 of them when they were an underdog, but 13 of the 18 did go over. Now, flipping it around, looking at which teams go under the total. We have 5 of them that really stand out here. Collingwood, during the mid part of the season, only 26% of games went over, so only 9 of 35. So games are much lower scoring. And interestingly, how it turns around during the final third of the season there for the Magpies. Melbourne also during this mid part of the season, during rounds 9 to 16, slide across, only 31% of games going over, 36 matches, 25 of them went under the total. Fremantle as a home favorite, 33 games, 22 of them went under the total. GWS Giants as an away underdog. So that stands out even more than just when they're away from home at 36%, but they've had 40 games as an away underdog, 27 have gone under. And another team during this mid part of the season, the Sydney Swans, 35 games between rounds 9 and 16 over the past 5 seasons, 23 went under the total. A couple of honorable mentions as well with those games with much lower totals, or lot more games coming under the total is what I'm trying to say. Port Adelaide, when the total is 155.5 to 160, these are closing lines. 10 of 12 games went under the total. So that's a really strong one. So definitely keep an eye out for 4 games in that range. And Collingwood as a home underdog, only 12 matches here, but 9 of them went under the total. So that's one you can definitely keep on paying attention to. If you want to view these throughout the season and view them just for 2024 or view them just for 2023 and see how it's all gone over previous years, you can get that in the investor.bet sports. So go to investor.bet.com.au. Hopefully you guys got some insight here into the things you want to be looking at to profit on the AFL. Make sure you keep an eye out on the other videos on the channel. I'm providing all information like this so that you can make money betting by making really smart betting decisions. Because at the end of the day, to be a profitable bettor, you don't necessarily have to be smarter than the betting companies. You just have to be smarter than the majority of bettors. And most bettors don't really pay any attention to any information. They bet based on their gut feelings, their favorite teams, favorite players, and that kind of stuff, or just because of what they heard in the media, on social media. And they're not looking deep into what's actually going on into these decisions they're making with the bets. And that's what I've done for the past 12 years. And that's what I'm trying to pass on to you guys so that you can start winning as well.